The Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra is one of the central tools for me as a UX engineer and a content creator. I utilize it in my professional, creative, and everyday life constantly. And today, I wanted to go over some of my favorite apps and tools that allow me to be more productive in my day-to-day routine. What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Oral Tasher and I'm a UX engineer based off of Orlando, Florida. Today, I wanted to talk about the apps and tools that I use that allows me to make the most of my Tab S8 Ultra. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the apps first. So I categorize my apps into 3 buckets: productivity, entertainment, and utility. This way, I can prioritize which apps to use depending on what I need to accomplish at any given moment. So first up on the list is actually one of my recent additions, and that is Microsoft To Do. So this is the app that I mainly use to prioritize my day-to-day tasks. It has a pretty simple interface, which keeps the whole workflow pretty simple, and I use it solely for short-term planning because it allows me to limit my focus on my tasks one day at a time. So at the end of my working day, I'll take 5 to 10 minutes to prioritize the next day's tasks. I'll break them down to bullet points and I'll just add them into Microsoft To Do. One thing I really like about Microsoft To Do is that it has a really neat widget that can live on your home screen, so you don't actually need to pop up the app to go through the list. You can just use that widget to check off everything off of your home screen. And that's one of the main reasons why I prefer using Microsoft To Do versus other productivity apps like Notion, as I've found some weird caveat with each of them that just didn't work well with me. And speaking of Notion, this obviously wouldn't be a productivity video if I didn't mention Notion. Notion is also an app that I utilize in my day-to-day workflow a lot as well. One of the things I love most about Notion is its flexibility. There are plenty of templates that you can use to get started, but ultimately you're free to create your own pages and organize them however you want. Now, there are a few key features of Notion that make it stand out from other productivity apps that specifically fit my needs. First and foremost is the database functionality. Notion allows you to create databases on just about anything and then link those databases together. One example of how I utilize this is by creating a template for invoices that I sent to my clients. Now, this is obviously not the most professional way to do it, but this is just how I go about it. I'll create an invoice from the template and actually store that template in a database once I send it to the client, and actually have a dedicated page where I keep track of progress of all my invoices. Another great feature of Notion is its ability to handle tasks and projects, of course. You can create a to-do list on Notion, but you can also create a full-fledged Kanban board, which is how I keep track of what content I need to create. So I'll keep all the fresh ideas in a to-do section. Periodically, I'll go in and reorder these depending on how early I want to create them or whether if it's relevant or not. Stuff that's being shot at the time goes into the doing section, of course. And if I have a brand collaboration that needs a review, that will sit in the review until I get the final approval from them. I also keep everything that I've shot in the done section instead of deleting them. That way I have some method of tracking all the work and effort that I've put into creating the content. It just creates a feeling of accomplishment and I can see all the hard work that I've been putting in. So another staple app in my toolkit is actually the default Samsung Notes app. One of the most common ways I utilize this tablet is drawing wireframes and sketching as a part of my UX workflow. And Samsung Notes is usually my go-to for small-scale projects or any small deliverable with quick turnaround times. One of the advantages of using Samsung Notes is its seamless integration with other Galaxy devices. This means that I can effortlessly iterate on my sketches between my S23 Ultra, Book 3 Ultra, and the Tab S8 Ultra without missing a beat. This comes in very handy, especially when ideating on projects on the go. So I usually just jot down very rough ideas on my Galaxy S23 Ultra, then pick up that project later on the Tab S8 Ultra, as the Notes app has a cloud sync and I don't have to really do any additional work to make sure all these wireframes are synced up. And once I'm happy with the sketches, what I'll usually do is export them on my Book 3 Ultra and send them out to my team or the clients as PDFs or whatever deliverable that they require. Now, for larger scale projects, I've been using the Concepts app for a while. This app has some great pro tools like rulers, area select with copy paste, and layering built in that helps me streamline multiple page designs a lot quicker. The only downside of this app was that it doesn't have any cloud sync, so all my designs actually stay on the Tab S8 Ultra, but I can export them and share the finalized designs as PDF if I wanted to. And that's one of the main reasons why smaller scale, quick turnaround projects live in the Samsung Notes app, whereas larger scale projects where I'm going to repeat similar wireframe designs multiple times actually live in Concepts app. Now, for File management, it's pretty straightforward. I use Dropbox for cloud syncing. This is my main way of sharing deliverables with clients or with friends. And for local files, I just use the default Samsung My Files app, which actually been pretty seamless to work with, honestly. Now lastly, as a content creator, editing content takes a good chunk of my day. And that's why Lightroom is by far one of the most used apps on my Tab S8 Ultra. Now with the powerful Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip and the S Pen, the Tab S8 Ultra provides an amazing editing experience. I usually use my Tab S8 Ultra with the S Pen to create these masks on the Tab S8 Ultra rather than using the desktop version. Now the Tab S8 Ultra has a massive 14.6-inch screen size, and I love to take advantage of this with some gaming when I get the chance to. Again, if you've been following me on social media, you'd see me utilize the Tab S8 Ultra as a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2 emulator from time to time as well. I'm using the DuckStation as a PS1 emulator and AetherSX2 for emulating PS2 games. There are plenty of videos on how to get started on both, but make sure to drop a comment if you'd like me to cover how I installed and started running PlayStation games on my Tab S8 Ultra. When I do have access to a fast and stable internet connection though, the PlayStation Remote app is a clutch for streaming my PS5 games back at home too. I've recently been hooked on Hogwarts Legacy lately, but I also like to hop on FIFA and get some games in there every now and then too. And lastly, I put together a quick list of accessories that goes along with all these apps that I've mentioned that allows me to make the most of my experience. Now, first up on the list is the USB-C hub from Hyper. This portable hub allows me to connect my camera's SD card, my T5 SSD, and also a monitor if I wanted to the Tab S8 Ultra. This, combined with the DeX mode, makes the Tab S8 Ultra an ultra productivity beast. Additionally, I also use the smart cover from Samsung, which I mentioned earlier, that comes with a keyboard and a mouse pad, which is a clutch, especially when I work from a coffee shop and don't want to bring my laptop along with me. I also keep a PlayStation 4 remote around for utilizing it for the emulator, the PS Remote app, and the native games as well. I also carry the Buds 2 Pro as I'm already in the Galaxy ecosystem, as it transitions seamlessly from my S23 Ultra to the Tab S8 instantly. And lastly, you have the S Pen, which is kind of cheating to include it on the list since it already comes with the Tab S8 by default. In conclusion, the Tab S8 Ultra is an excellent productivity tool that I've been utilizing on my creative, everyday, and professional life. All these apps that I've mentioned, I've been mostly using them for years now as I try to limit the amount of apps that I add onto my list, but I always keep an eye on for new ones that can help me improve my workflow. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Make sure to like and subscribe. Until then, see you in the next one. Peace.